Welcome to Health Talk. We're so happy that the home audience is joining us today. We have a special guest, Ms. Keesha Crosby. She's CEO and founder of Triguard Risk Solutions from Fairfax, Virginia. And we have with us Kevin Liu. He's applying to medical school and he's interested in cybersecurity as well. So our title of our talk today is Cybersecurity in Hospitals and What's New. And obviously, it changes so quickly. There's probably lots of new stuff. And one of the things I wanted to talk to the home audience about is that IEEE is one of the big organizations that regulate industry standards forever. And they recently got together for the Diabetes Technology Society and UL, which is another Underwriters Laboratory, another organization, to join together for standards. Tell us a little bit about that.
So yeah, IEEE and UL for the first time came together to create the DT Diabetes Technology Standard, which is for insulin pumps and now mobile applications that connect to insulin pumps or any diabetes device.
For the insulin pumps, we know that there are mobile applications such as carb counting with Lenny from Medtronic and various other companies where people log in their blood sugars and some of the blood sugar readings directly go to their mobile phone. And so that's why the industry needed regulation, because people were worried about hackers going into a wireless free Wi-Fi area like Starbucks, airports, and bad things happening with cyber criminals. Now, tell us in terms of what's new, how can we fix that? I'm sure you've been very involved in that as an industry professional and as an expert. Tell us.
So the standards that are coming out from DT Most is regulating, pretty much telling you what are best practices, how to more securely create these applications that connect to these devices.
Now, DTMO stands for Diabetes Technology Mobile Standards. Yeah. So tell us that there was recently a conference about that.
Oh, yes.
And you participated. Tell us about your role and how much fun it was or not fun.
So I was invited by Dr. Klonoff to be on the panel. Because of my participation in the standards body of the DT Most standard. And at that conference, I was on a panel called Women Breaking the Glass Ceiling in Healthcare.
So tell us about that. You're one of the few women engineers in this cybersecurity area. Is that true?
That is very true. I'm one of the pretty much very few, if not minimum under 10 black women to create a cybersecurity product and to try to take it to market. There's never been a black woman to IPO ever in this cybersecurity or in initial public offering ever in products or companies or anything like that.
So your company specializes in something special. Tell us.
So we do software assurance, so software security, software assurance. So our product is called Sacred, Software Assurance Compliance Verification Risk Evaluation. And what Sacred does is it takes the known common weaknesses in software and pairs those with compliance standards so that you know what the risk of putting that software to market without vetting it against a compliance standard.
So obviously, doing this is better than waiting after FDA approval and then something bad happens.
Correct.
And then not only are patients' lives affected, or you shut hospital systems down. So this is excellent.
Yes.
Now, in doing all this stuff for cybersecurity for hospitals, there are potential holes in big systems like hospitals, because hospitals have many satellite offices or satellite hospitals, like there's a big main hospital, but satellite clinics. So sometimes there are 100,000 employees or 200,000 employees or even more. And not only that, you have part-time help, contract help, skilled labor, unskilled labor, all access to a system, to Epic, to a large Athena health system, large electronic medical records. So there are big gaping holes. So one of them Kevin was interested in talking about phishing. Like that's a hole. Like if you're a hospital employee, you're on the hospital computer and you decide to check your email, but the email contains what?
So usually with these phishing emails, what they entail is a suspicious link in which you click on, and as a result, they may ask you some sensitive information. And as a result, you give them that sensitive information, and they can access your email account. They can access the hospital system because with health information, usually they are protected by encryption, meaning that you need access or authorization to receive that patient information. But if a hacker would have that authorization from a unknowing employee, then they gain access with that to that information without the hospital's firewall of even knowing.
That's true. There are firewalls. There are stuff about firewalls that we need to know about in hospitals. For example, if we use a robotic device, and that robotic device, which costs hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we're trying it out because our GYN surgeons want to use it, they have to be integrated into the hospital firewalls. Tell us a little bit about that process.
So any device that you, or any network component or any system that you would add in a hospital environment has to be, gradually put into the infrastructure. But when we're putting it into the infrastructure, we need to make sure we got the right security parameters on it, that is set correctly, that we remove default passwords, that we're actually putting, the appropriate protocols in the firewall for that device to be used.
Now, one of these protocols is called Proxy 8080. Tell us a little bit about that.
Proxy 8080 is just HTTPS.
So there.
So that's how you get web pages in and out.
So there are other protocols. You said there are many, many. So tell us,
it's many.
like, give us an example.
FTP is file transport protocol. So it's how you transfer
A file.
Yeah.
And so they have to be programmed with this new device, this new medical machine, and the hospital system, the Epic system.
Right. So some ports require you to use FTP or FTPS, which is secure FTP. And
So tell us what FTP stands for?
file transport protocol.
Okay, so the file transport protocol has to be integrated, and somebody has to program that.
Well, you got to turn it on. You got to make sure that protocol
Is activated.
Yeah, and that you can have a proxy for it on your firewall.
And that, so many hospitals don't have the budget for a chief information security officer. They have a chief information technology officer, and they usually just deal with buying the Epic, making sure it works, the rather simple things, but the very specialized part, security at every interface, costs money, and
Yes.
hospitals have been trying to not spend money on it simply because they don't have the budget. So tell us your opinion about that. That sort of seems short-sighted. Tell us.
I think creating a security program that includes both a CIO or a CTO, which is a Chief Technical Officer, and the CISO, or some people call it Chief Security Officer or Chief Information Security Officer, where you got the hierarchy that the CIO is managing the purchasing, the buying, the making sure they have the policies in place, and your CTO is worried about new upcoming technology and refresh and how to put that into the system, and the CISO or the CSO is worried about what's the security around all these things. So it's like a triad. All three of them work perfectly together to make sure your hospital is both up to date, secure, and using the latest technology.
And I think what happens is the cyber attacks, the cyber criminals know that there are vulnerabilities, that there are holes in the system, and they can exploit it. And some are due to human error, software hygiene, like you say, like hand washing for doctors and hand washing for patients. Our employees should know not to pick up a zip drive and just put it in the computer, or give out their password, like you mentioned, because open to phishing attacks and all sorts of malicious things. So tell us a little bit about random threats from inside, from like an insider threat. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, you know, insiders can be employees. They can be, you know, your janitors, your IT specialist, or your system administrator, or even a doctor, a rogue doctor, or administrator. And then also, most people don't even think your suppliers. They're your insiders as well.
That's true, because they have inside information.
Yes, they do.
Because they need
And they have access.
right. They're allowed access into the operating room to help doctors. They're allowed into secure spaces. And they don't necessarily have the hospital ID that makes them, makes the hospital security know what's going on. However, most hospitals have tightened that. They make it very hard for industry professionals, even though they're lending us $300,000 worth of equipment for 6 months. They're watched, they're more regulated. However, there are problems. They're still coming in.
They're still coming in.
And they could still have access.
That's true.
And that nobody's watching them 24/7 or watching them for the 8 hours that they're standing by the operating room table. It is
Exactly.
true. It's a problem.
Yeah.
And also, rogue employees, people who are insider threats, such as Snowden for the U.S. government. He had access, he had classified access, and he just used his access in a manner that was not good for the federal government. And there's Tesla, the employee who was disgruntled, sold his information to the dark web, and Tesla had to fix that. Kevin, you also were mentioning that there are phishing attacks that involve fake URLs. Tell us a little bit about that.
So, for example, let's say you receive an email and it says that you need to re-authenticate your email because there's a server migration, and as a result, you click on a link, and it may seem like your company website, but there could be one character change, or the website might be the exact same, but again, the address might be different, and as a result, you enter your information, and so the implication. The reason why personal health records are so important is because they're worth money. On the black market, credit card information is worth a couple of dollars because the banks have become better at being able to detect fraud. So, for example, sometimes you receive a phone call from your bank because you went to a gas station twice in one day, and they think, oh, someone must be using your credit card. But instead of hackers realize that it's more they can make more money by accessing health information, because these records could be worth like $50 because
Social
there's more
Security
information
number,
on there.
yeah.
Social Security,
Date of birth.
health insurance, date of birth, address. There's a lot more information that they can use to steal someone's identity.
Or steal, or they get your address, they sell it to criminals who live in your neighborhood or live in your state, and they just go to your mailbox and just steal, randomly
true.
steal physical things. And I think that as people are patients and they're consumers, so you could have a patient in a hospital room and they're a long-term care patient, or maybe they're in hospice, and their loving family member gives them Alexa or gives them an Internet of Things or something. That little Alexa device is recording, is getting information, is wireless, so it's password protected. However, that password could be very weak. Somebody else could just make a fake hotspot and steal all this information and sell it or mimic your voice, do all sorts of fun things that Alexa did not intend for consumer.
And I think the worst fear is that these hackers would use this information to harm the patient directly. And so I think in 2016, the University of Arizona, one of the affiliate hospitals, they simulated the first cyber attack on a hospital. because in general, hospitals have simulations, for example, for emergencies. But for this simulation, they simulate a cyber attack. So hospitals are slowly becoming more updated about the serious threat of being cyber attacked.
It is a problem. Like we go through bomb preparation, we go through terrorist preparation, and when we had the Super Bowl in San Jose, all the hospitals, I was chief of surgery then, and we were all on alert. We went through ways to prepare. All the ER doctors went for ways to prepare and how many minutes, how could we streamline it. And it was 2 years in preparation for the Super Bowl because we knew that people were coming and it was a yummy sight for terrorists to think, oh, let's just torture the Super Bowl fans. So similarly for people who want to hack into systems, not only for money, but for power, for fun, for prestige, that they can do it, get notoriety on the dark web. Hospitals are vulnerable. And sometimes they may not call you until they've already been attacked. And they might not even tell you that they've been attacked because they don't want anybody to know.
Right.
They just say, Keesha, fix us.
Yeah.
It's
a problem. It's a problem in all different banking, healthcare, even our electric grid. All of these things are embedded weaknesses that turn into vulnerabilities are the problems. They turn into zero-day attacks. A zero-day attack is an unknown weakness, that was unknown, that someone found out about it, through nefarious ways, or either like scanning the network, trying to figure out what's going on, and that the vendor probably doesn't even know that they have that problem. And they use that weakness and turn it into a vulnerability. And they exploit it for a long time, and then later they come back and say, oh, by the way, we found this weakness. But how long have they known about it before they let you know about it?
Well, we know that the FBI has a devoted unit for cybersecurity, and we have such a unit in San Francisco, and they're monitoring rogue countries, rogue individuals, rogue organizations, rogue groups that are looking to destroy security at big organizations, cybersecurity, and so it's ever changing because people change their code and people keep updating. One of the problems for healthcare are many startup companies create mobile devices for healthcare, such as all the apps for obesity, all the apps for weight loss, all the apps for fitness. That's your own little vulnerability spot. You're carrying this around.
Yeah.
You're walking around
with all your information.
Yes, gathering information. So not only they can know where you are by GPS, like you Keesha, me, Gloria, you, Kevin, but they know groups of people with heart disease. They know groups of people with diabetes. And they could say to the big, gigantic companies that these group of people, they're using Pfizer medication, or using Novartis, or using Eli Lilly insulin, or using X. We're going to mess them all up. So pay up, Eli Lilly, pay up, Pfizer, pay up. So that's ransomware. Pay us in crypto coin, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, so that we can do our things, and we'll just keep the money and we'll hush up. So there are all these things that I'm sure that's happening and that we don't even know about. But so industry is trying to protect us, and but we as the public, we could be a patient. We're a relative of a patient. We use doctor services. We're mothers, fathers of patients. We're children of patients. So we all have to be aware. So tell us how we should be aware. Tell us, Keesha.
Well, one of the big things is patient education. When you're giving them a device that's installed in them, that is Wi-Fi enabled or Internet of Things type of device, let the patient know that this is the latest software version. If you need an update, you're going to have to come to the hospital. Please don't muck with your device or try to figure out what's going on.
Don't disable your own device.
Yeah.
Don't hack into your own device for fun.
For fun.
Yeah.
I mean, because you don't know what harm you're going to cause yourself. Would you go in the hospital and pull out your IV?
No, hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
Right.
So why would you go home and change the device settings?
Some people like to do that because they don't want their doctor to know that they've been bad.
Oh, well, I didn't
That,
think
you
about
know,
that. That's
but-
true.
But all joking aside, in 2011, it was an engineer patient who hacked into his own insulin pump. And that's when he told the company, and he found this problem. And it was, at that time, 2011, the insulin pumps had the password encoded in the hardware. So that's changed. So that's good. But we still have problems because the startup companies use open software, open systems, freeware, and anybody can hack in. So tell us a little bit about that. How about
So
freeware
open-
versus proprietary?
So open source is where the community, just like your Google phone, it's more an open source model, whereas an Apple is a closed source model, where they only do the code within house. They don't really allow app developers or anybody that's unvetted to create an app or have access to the actual phone, whereas Google is more open. They want the whole community to contribute to enhancements and updates and stuff like that.
That's a two-way street. Google then gets more information.
Right. But in the same instance, how much are they vetting those app developers or that code that's going on to that app? You know, because you want to get it to market. People want the newest, latest thing, but not all the time those things are great for them.
So, for example, the mobile apps for obesity and weight loss, like there's Gluco, which is you pay a little bit of money, My Sugar, all those things. If you're on these mobile apps, it behooves you to look at what the software is written in, whether it's open source or is proprietary, because you're using it.
So I would go even further than that, Gloria. When it's on the Google store or is it at the App Store, you want to look at that information. Is it really My Sugar that's creating it, or if it's somebody that cloned it? Secondly, what's the latest software version? And is it HIPAA certified? I mean, simple things like that. The consumers need to know.
So HIPAA, for the home audience, is the Health Insurance
Information.
Portability and Accountability Act, 1996. It was passed. And it protects the patient, the consumer, from having their information sold or somebody making money off of your information. So that's important to know. We never thought about that as doctors. Thank you for reminding us
Yeah.
that. So it's the part where it says, I accept the terms. When you click
Agreement.
on, nobody
or even
reads
just
it,
the download.
but you have to read it.
Yeah, at the download at the App Store, when it gives you information about the app, who's the creator, who's the developer, what version are you installing, what is the has it been certified? Does it comply with any known standards? I mean, simple things like that. As a consumer, before you download it on your phone,
Because that means they'll know everything about you.
Yeah.
Where you're standing in the parking lot, what credit cards you use to swipe through your phone or that you go through your phone. They'll know your bank. They'll know your habits. They'll know everything about you.
They could, yes, definitely. Location is one of the things most apps ask for. Can you please turn on location for this app? You know? So why does My Sugar need to know my location if all I'm doing is inputting my diabetes blood numbers?
And there's also like MyFitnessPal, which is how many steps you take, how many miles you run. But they do ask for personal information. So we should all look to see if it's HIPAA protected. It may not be, because these apps went on the marketplace and they were for consumers rather than patients.
Yes.
So you as a consumer, it's like, I'm buying candy,
Yeah.
and there's nothing that
But
says...
even the candy has an ingredients label.
That's true.
So why don't we have ingredients labels for our apps,
Do
our
we
software?
Are they all required now or no?
No, they're not.
So they're not required. So
they're not.
they don't have to say if it's HIPAA protected.
Well, if they're advertising it as a medical app, right?
No, but they don't
What
have
is
to
the
be.
security and privacy? Because you talked about 1996 HIPAA, but recently they had an update to it. So now HIPAA also has HIPAA privacy and HIPAA security. And that goes to what are the devices? What's the security on the devices? What kind of privacy are you doing around my data? And that all has to do with cybersecurity as well.
So what's happening is that you bring up such fabulous points. So the home audience should know that when they download something like MyFitnessPal or these exercise trackers or all these free things, you know, there's a free thing and there's the pay part of it. We should figure out whether the free thing has the HIPAA and the pay part has the HIPAA. Maybe you only get the HIPAA with the pay part. You don't know. Like it's something we
May
should.
not even get it at all.
And because it is not a medical app, because my fitness pal is not necessarily medical app. It's just for anybody. You could just be Miss America and you're on it. It's for all the Miss Americas in the world who want to be just beautiful. So it's very interesting that, but in a way, we are all patients. And we're all Miss America. But anyway, so it's something that we have to be careful about. So in wrapping up the show, we're so excited that you're here with us, Keesha and Kevin. And we're so excited to present this to our home audience because I think this is a very important topic because we're going to be surrounded by Internet of Things. We'll have walking droids, walking robots. We'll have drones that deliver Amazon packages to us. They'll talk to us. You get a drone, and I'm sure you can get a drone boyfriend, girlfriend. That'd be exciting. And then we're going to have the Internet of Things in the cars. It'll be self-driving. Nobody has to have a nanny that drives anymore. They just put them in a self-driving car. The child will be taken to every appointment possible. So nonetheless, there is cybersecurity. What if it fails? What if somebody hacks into, steals your child, or knows everything about you, knows your GPS, knows when you are in and out of your house because Alexa knows you're not talking to her, and has hacked into you. So be aware. Ask your doctor about HIPAA, HIPAA security. Ask about password protection. Ask all these devices that talk to you at home. Read the fine print. And thank you very much. If you like this show, to the home audience, donate to KSAR Television, Saratoga Access Television, and we're so thrilled that you're with us today. Thank you. Thank you, Keesha. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you.